Hi, this is Lauren. Today I'm actually going to show you how to create some really cool, fun, and awesome hand warmers off the Loopdeloom. There are a couple different styles that we're actually going to learn how to do today. We're going to learn how to create our stripes to go this way and learn how to create our stripes to go this way on our hand warmers. We're also going to learn how to sew in the fringe on our hand warmers and how to design a hand warmer with fringe on the outside and in the inside. So why don't we get started? Before you start to weave, you need to know which way you want your design to go. From the hand warmers that I'm demonstrating today, I'm designing two different ways that your patterns can go. One way of having your pattern is to go this way. Another way to do your pattern is to have it go this way. In order to do both of the designs, you're gonna have to decide which one you wanna do first. If you want to do the pattern that goes this way, you actually need to use two looms because this way is actually going to be the width that your hand needs to fit in the hand warmer itself. If you want to do this fun pattern and have your lines go this way on your hand, you actually only need to use one loom. When it comes off the loom, your piece is actually weaving this way, so you can just add more length on to fit the span of your hand. My first example that I'm going to show today is how to create the hand warmer with the fringe on the side. This actually allows your pattern to go this way, upwards on your hand also. So it's a pretty simple idea. So when starting out your hand warmer, you're going to have to figure out what the width of your hand is. So simply just wrap a piece of yarn around the widest part of your hand, and this is actually going to determine how long you actually need to weave a section on your loom. Once you have figured out this, and this is actually an example I have shown you guys too, this is the same exact pattern that I actually have here, and just so you can see my measurement, this is my actual stopping point. So this is about how long you need to weave your actual section. So once you have removed all the pegs and taking it off the loom and the warp and pulled your warp strands tight, this is actually what your piece is going to look like after. Make sure you have one clean side of your weave where none of the striped strings are shown through. You can simply just poke them through to the other side so they don't show. Once you have reached this point of taking all your strands off, you're going to have to tie off some of your ends. So you might have to do some readjusting here to get everything nice and straight. And the first thing you're going to have to do before actually tying off your strands is to tie in or tie a knot with your last color of weave. If you do not tie this string in a knot to one of the warp strands, your weave will come undone. So you're going to have to do that to both ends of your weave. And simply you take the last warp grouping, and all you're going to do is just tie a knot around the warp strand, simply like this. And you just want to get your strand to be nice and tight. So pull that in a really tight knot so nothing comes loose. And again, we're doing this because your weave could actually come free. So now that we have that knot, it won't. So let's actually get another knot here on the other end. And all I'm doing again, you're just creating a loop around the last warp length and then tying a knot and pulling it tight. So once you have that, you may need to readjust your weave and fix everything up. And again, having all your strings on the inside. Once you take it off, you're actually going to have to cut these loops at the end of your weave as well. So all I'm going to do really quickly here, again, is just cut them. And the reason why we're cutting them is because we actually need to tie all these strands together. But we're going to do it in a really cool way. We're actually going to take a group of 3 and tie them together. The main idea here is to have 2 from one warp and 1 from another. Again, our idea is not to unravel our weave at all. So all you're going to do is take again from one end of the weave, you're going to take 3 strands of yarn together. All you're going to do, wrap them around your thumb and tie a knot. You're gonna really want to pull this knot nice and tight so it stays secure and your knot looks small. So again, you're gonna do this to the whole entire side of on each of your weaves. So this should take you a couple minutes to do, and I'll meet you back here in a sec when I'm finished. So here I've actually knotted off both ends of my weave so everything stays secure. And what you're going to simply do to the inside of your weave and all the scrap yarn that you have first is that you're going to cut these little tassels that are hanging off. You just want to adjust so on the inside of your hand warmer it's actually going to be a little bit more comfortable for your hands and you don't have to deal with any of these scratchy pieces of yarn irritating your hand. So all you're doing is just cutting off the little ties. You don't want to cut all the way down to the knot of your weave because this could actually let your weave become free and you don't want anything to unravel. So once you have completed this, this is actually a very next simple and easy step to do. So we have to connect the hammer together. So all we're going to do is lay this flap over, and then again you're going to tie the two sides of each pairing together. So let me show you how to do that. So all you're going to do is take each pair of three and you're going to knot them together. So I would tie 2 knots just to make sure everything is nice and secure. And just like that, you're going to go down the whole entire side of your weave, and that's what's actually going to create your hand warmer. So I'm going to jump ahead and finish this off, and I'll show you the finishing steps on your hand warmer. So once you've knotted the whole entire side of your weave, you should be left with this very nice hollow tube. This is actually where your hand is going to go in your hand warmer itself. The fringe is going to be displayed on the side of your hand, and then your thumb is just going to poke through one of the little weave sections, and it's simple. A simple finger can just poke through. This way, when you make your weave, everything is adjustable. So if your thumb is a little bit lower, just poke your thumb a little bit lower through the weave itself. It's pretty cool because once you take it off, it readjusts and it doesn't even seem like you have a hole. This is neat. So now you need to decide what you would like to do with your fringe itself on your weave. So you can either trim it all off, or you can leave some of it hanging. I like to leave a little bit of it hanging because I think it adds a cool touch. So all you can do is just take your scissors, run them straight across, and just to leave a little bit of a detail, I cut my fringe to probably be about 1 inch long. This is just going to add a little cool flare to the side of your wrist of when you put it on your hand itself. So this was our first version of how to create a hand warmer. This version is very easy, and the next version I'm actually going to show today is how to sew in the fringes on your weave. If you do not like the fringed look on the side of your hammer, but like the technique of achieving the style of a hand warmer, all you can simply do to hide the fringe is to cut it all off and flip your hand warmer inside out. Again, you would have to have your inside version flipped around and make sure all your excess string is in the inside. So this is a simple way to do it. So again, if you wanted to hide that fringe, all we did is just flipped your hand warmer inside out. Again, you would have to cut off the tassels and make sure everything stays secure. And you would slide your hand through the same exact way. You would find a spot on the weave to place your finger and poke it right through. So here I'm actually going to show how to create this awesome type of sewn in hand warmer. As you can see, I have stitched the sides together and sewn in all my fringes. This might take a little bit longer than the other version of the hand warmers, but it definitely creates a more sophisticated and unique look. So what we're going to do first is I have created another weave just of this pattern. I have taken it off the loom, and you can see how it was on the loom itself. So again, I did this weave on a double loom, and the reason being is because I wanted my stripes to be this way on my hand. So what we're going to do from here, like I said, it just came off the loom, and you're going to have all your fringes on one end. To be a little bit faster, I have already sewn in the top portion of my weave. And this is actually an example of what you see hanging here from the inside of the weave of having them sewn in. So again, I have left one side totally nice and clean. This is going to be the external part of my weave. And all the scrap yarn that's on this part is going to be the inside of my hand warmer. So sewing in your fringe is actually easier than you think. So you're going to have to get at your local craft store these wide-eyed needles. These are just plastic or metal. You can get either or, and they're in the yarn and sewing section of your craft store. So all you're going to do, so once you have tied off the ends of your weave, so again, you're going to have to knot off everything in 3. And this is what I'm going to do really quickly here. So I'm going to go down the line of my weave and knot everything together in a bundle of 3. This is usually a pretty standard step for all weaves, is bundling them together. And in this step, it's very important too to create that very, very tight knot. You want to achieve a very secure knot on your weave and then make it look as small as possible, because this is going to make it easier to hide it on the end of the weave. So I will be back in a flash, and I'm going to be tying off the ends of my weave. Here I have knotted off the whole entire side of my weave. So now it is time to sew the fringes into the weave itself. It's actually a very easy step to do so. So again, like I said before, you're going to have to get a wide-eyed needle. And once you have your wide-eyed needle out, we're not going to cut the fringe at all. You are just going to take the 3 pieces in a group, bundle them together, and then you're going to pick an individual column and you're going to slide these fringes through one of these warp columns that we have. So it's very simple. So with the messy side facing up, you're going to pick one of these little tubes and you're simply just going to slide your needle through the tube. It shouldn't poke through the back side and it shouldn't poke through the front side. You're going to go to a comfortable point where the needle just ends and you're going to push it through, and then you're going to gently pull your whole entire chunk of fringe through that column. So get it through and make sure your knot becomes hidden at the end. And then you're going to just be left with the remaining part of the fringe itself. This can be simply cut off. So you're going to go ahead, again, all you're going to do is take a clump of 3 pieces of yarn together. Then you're going to choose a column, slide your needle through, making sure it's not poking to the other side. Stop at a point where the needle feels comfortable, and pull that group of 3 pieces of yarn out. So go along the whole entire side now and finish off the side, pulling the fringe through the yarn columns. Now I have gone in and sewn in all the ends of my fringe. So now you should be left with this crazy mess in the center. This is all the excess sewn in fringe. So like I mentioned earlier, you're just going to take your scissors and you're going to go straight across and just cut off the excess fringe. Once you have cut off all the excess strands of fringe, you should be left with a mess like this looking in the inside. You can readjust your weave if you want to be able to cover the inside or the little end pieces of that excess fringe still hanging. If not, I would just leave it. This is the inside of our hand warmer anyway, so you will not see it at all. So the next step from here is actually sewing the side of the hand warmer together. This is what's going to be able to make our hand warmer nice and solid, and we can kind of make a cool pattern using our black yarn. So what you're going to do once you fold it in half, you're going to have to choose your yarn and pull about, I would say at least a good 20 inches. You don't want to run out of yarn, otherwise you're going to have to start all over again. And then we want to take our wide-eyed needle. So you're going to thread your yarn through your wide-eyed needle. And you're going to simply knot the end of your yarn, making sure that this knot is not going to come loose as we weave our hand warmer together. So what you're going to do, and I always like to start in the inside of my weave, just like so, just so the knot doesn't show. And you're just going to sew back and forth your yarn. And when you're sewing up the side, you're going to have to take into consideration of where you would like to place your finger hole. So you would have to measure out where your hand would be placed on the hand warmer and leave that opening as you're sewing up the hand warmer itself. So here I've kind of gone to a little bit of a stopping point, so you can lay your hand on the hand warmer itself. We can still see here that I still have a couple more stitches to go until I need to stop and let that be the thumb hole for my hand warmer. So again, I'm going to keep on going a couple more stitches. And it's really neat because the black yarn is going to blend in right with the black stripe itself. So make sure that your stitches look really good when you're sewing in on the white, because this is where your accent stitches are actually going to show. So I've come to a spot, and I'm going to check again, of where I would like my thumb hole to be placed. And you actually can stick your hand through the hand warmer itself if you want to find a nice, comfortable fitting point. And then you're going to look on the side, and you're going to figure out where you need to start stitching again. So this is cool. So leaving it on your hand, you're going to pull that yarn to the other side. You don't need to start or stop it again. And you can just start by measuring and poking your yarn again and start sewing. This is cool. So you can figure out how comfortable it is. If you like your stitch there, that thumb hole actually feels a little bit too tight for me, so I'm going to back that yarn back out, and this is totally fine. If this happens to you, just pull that yarn right back out. And it should be pretty simple. Make sure you go through your same exact hole as you did before. So once you've done that, you're going to find again where you would like to place your stitch. And then you're going to start stitching all the way to the top of your hand warmer. If you want to leave it on your hand like this and so, or you can actually take it off to start sewing again. So we're going to continue on sewing up the side of our hand warmer. Just like so. Again, you want to make your stitches look very nice. And when you come to actually the end of the stitching, you're going to have to tie a knot again. Again, we're going to want to tie this knot in the inside of our hand warmer. We don't want this knot to show. Make sure too, you add just a couple extra stitches at the end of your hand warmer, just so make sure everything stays nice and secure and snug. So once you've done that, you're going to flip your hand warmer a little bit inside out, and you're going to tie a knot. Just like this, the same type of knot that we did to our fringe. Make sure it's nice and tight. Once you've done that, cut it, and here you've actually sewn together the whole entire side of your hand warmer. So you can see where your thumb sticks through. In just a second here, I'm actually going to show how to embellish a hand warmer with a pom-pom. You can embellish your hand warmer with any type of form or fringe that you would like to do, but here I'm just going to show you how to embellish it with a pom-pom. When it comes to embellishing your pom-pom, you're going to have to decide how big you want to cut and make your pom-pom. Again, you don't have to do this step. This is just a really cool accent step to add to your really cool and unique hand warmer. So how to do it? So you're going to leave a string hanging from your pom-pom itself. And all I have simply done with both of my wide-eye needles is just threaded both ends of the yarn that are attached to the pom-pom. Again, here's my example hand warmer. So I want to make my hand warmers perfectly match. And make sure you have the thumb hole facing on the correct side with the hand warmer. So all you're going to do is you're going to figure out where you would like to place your hand warmer itself. And all you're going to do is holding that there. You're going to poke each of those needles through your weave. And you're going to do it the same thing with the other one. Once you have pulled both through, you're going to pull them tightly so the pom-pom is going to stay secure, just like this, and you can kind of compare it to your other one to readjust if you need to readjust. So again, you're going to pull it, make sure it's secure, and all you're going to do with these two pieces of yarn is that you are going to tie a knot. And just tie it nice and tight so that pom-pom stays secure, and that's the only step there is to add that. So it's a really cool, unique trick to use in order to embellish your really cool hand warmers. So again, today we learned how to do a couple style of hand warmers. We learned how to sew our hand warmers together, and we learned how to create fringe on our hand warmers. And I hope you guys had a really fun tutorial creating. And again, there are tons of different patterns and styles that you can make these hand warmers with. Keep on crafting and designing, and I hope you enjoyed this beautiful tutorial.